Back here on Get Up, Kevin Nagandi with you to the NFL. Not sure if you know, but the draft is tomorrow. 2026 in Pittsburgh. Our Peter Schrager has put together his final mock draft. Highlights including Jeremiyah Love going third off the board of the Cardinals. The Cowboys trading up into the top 10 to grab a cornerback. And the Jets going with David Bailey at 2. You can see Peter's mock right now on ESPN.com. Let's dig in some big draft day decisions. And, of course, there's a lot of question marks as it feels like the draft starts with the Jets at 2. Adam Schefter, what are the Jets' plans there at number 2?
Good morning, Kevin. The New York Jets plan to select a pass rusher. I think everybody across the league knows that. The question is whether it's going to be David Bailey or whether it's going to be Arvell Reese. And I can tell you there's a feeling across the league that David Bailey is the most effective, productive pass rusher coming out of this draft. Arvell Reese may have some more upside, and that could be something the Jets decide they want to bet on. But I think the feeling continues to be the sense is the Jets would go Bailey. But again, they have been very intentional in not advertising their pick to anybody, despite the fact that for all intents and purposes, the Jets are on the clock with everybody knowing what the Raiders are doing at number 1.
Schrager, you brought up the idea yesterday that there are no leaks in the building, something different from the Jets in the past. What are you hearing about this number 2 pick?
That's almost as big of a win as whatever their draft haul is going to be. A new era, new regime, and they feel pretty good internally about the lock and key that they have in that building. Now, that's all media talking on the side. It's been Bailey or Reese since the Combine, and I have had Bailey for the last month, and I have no intel telling me otherwise. I'm going to go with David Bailey going second to the Jets for exactly the same reasons that Adam said. This is a guy who had 14.5 sacks last year, 19.5 tackles for a loss. It's considered one of the best pass rushing seasons we've seen in the last decade. You can put him in any system and put him in right now, and he's going to produce. Arvell Reese, an outstanding talent and might be the most dynamic player in this draft. But I believe right now, as we're 24-plus hours away, that the Jets are set in on David Bailey being the second overall pick.
J-Mac here with us. You endorsed this pick with Bailey. Why?
I like both players.
Yeah.
I get the Bailey part of it. Straight just mentioned it, 14.5 sacks last year. That goes to talk about the type of pass rusher that he was in college and what he could be. I look at Arvell Reese on the other side, though, and you talk about potential, and Shrake said he might be the most dynamic player in the draft. If you can give me the most dynamic player on my defense and I can figure out with the versatility of this guy where to put him, I'll take that at number 2 because of the upside in which he brings and also the intelligence in which he brings to the game. This is a guy that played multiple positions in college for defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, who was in the NFL forever. So he was asking him to do things that he's going to be asked at the next level, and I think that translates well.
Reese is a freak show, especially at 20 years young. We'll see what happens. Whoever lands him will be very happy about that. All right, I mentioned that the draft starts at 2. The intrigue starts at 3. Schefter, will the Cardinals draft Jeremiyah Love at number 3?
Kevin, I think if they stay there, they will. But the main question here is whether the Cardinals will actually stay at 3. A lot of people around the league wondering whether the Cardinals will move out. We know they've had exploratory phone calls. Those calls are expected to intensify as the draft gets closer and maybe even begins, and there could be a team that wants to come up. Again, the question is, what teams are out there that can move up that far to number 3? It's not a long list. Again, the Chiefs have had some thought about it, but the Chiefs are thinking about moving back as much as they're thinking about moving up. The New Orleans Saints at 8, that could be a possibility if they feel like they want to go get a pass rusher. But it's hard to imagine that there are a whole lot of options, which is why the Arizona Cardinals are waiting for that phone to ring to see if there's a way out of 3. If they can't get out of 3, Jeremiyah Love would seem to be the logical pick. This is a team that has gone defense in the first round of the draft in many years. They've drafted Xavier Collins. They've drafted Walter Nolan. They've drafted Denarius Robinson. This offense, this team, this franchise needs a spark. It needs some excitement. It needs some energy. They hired an offensive-minded head coach in Mike LaFleur. Jeremiyah Love regarded as the best player in this draft. It makes a lot of sense if they can't find a trade partner to stay here and take Jeremiyah Love.
Keep in mind, their quarterbacks are Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew. They have no star power right now on the offensive side. Peter, what are you hearing regarding the Cardinals?
It's interesting because what Adam's saying is right, but I think the 3 pick becomes interesting to teams who want to move up for Arvell Reese if he doesn't get selected too. And that's where the distinction is here. It wouldn't be for Jeremiyah Love. Teams other than the Cardinals, I don't think are looking to trade up or take him 3rd overall. Reese becomes a really intriguing option. Now, when it gets to the Cardinals, Adam was hitting on it about missing on some of these defensive players, or at least drafting defensive players. You include Isaiah Simmons in that list, who was a top pick as well. The Cardinals are among the bottom in the league in merchandise, bottom of the league in ticket sales. They have a new head coach. There seems to be this feeling of a refresh of some sort. And when you're in that division with the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks, who are all perennial playoff teams, sometimes you take the big swing. And I'll end on this, Kevin. I spoke to a very, very respected general manager and said, in this draft class, more than any other ever, positional value throw out the door. There's just not that amount of blue chip talent across the board, which justifies a running back to Arizona at 3.
So it is the big board of best available.
Yeah.
What's the best case scenario?
Get your Jeremiyah Love jerseys ready for the Arizona Cardinals. Shrake just mentioned marketing. Hey, you can sell jerseys. Get some new ones, slap a number 4 on there, put Love on the back, and everybody's going to be happy overall in Arizona. But I look at this for them. Schefter mentioned it. At that number 3 spot, if someone is willing to trade and they can get more picks that they can add to that roster that is, you just said it, depleted of talent in certain areas and try to get better, that's best case scenario. But if you're stuck at that 3 spot, why not pick a player that can be the best player in the draft and can change the complexity of your offense, which does so much for the quarterback position and everyone around?
And one scenario, if you're wondering, too, why don't the Cardinals trade down a little bit and they get Love later on? Because the Titans sit there at 4. And if Love is off the board, what does Tennessee do here, Schefter?
I would expect that the pick would be, in that particular case, Jeremiyah Love. Despite the fact that they have a backfield that's productive, a lot of backs. They have right now Tony Pollard. They have Tajay Spears. They signed Michael Carter from the Arizona Cardinals during the offseason. But Jeremiyah Love, for the exact reasons we're talking about, at number 3, would be the best player on the board. He would be a weapon for Cam Ward. And so the Titans are curious bystanders here to see if the Arizona Cardinals can find a trade partner at 3 or whether they sit there, go ahead, and make the selection. By the way, I think either way here, like Love goes 3, Love goes 4. Those seem to be the 2 spots where he's going to be going on Thursday night.
Okay, we'll circle that, either 3 or potentially 4 if there are no trades in this draft early on in that top 5. We'll take a look, of course, as we have the Raiders right now on the clock. Coming back to the draft here on Get Up, the Giants throwing 2 darts in the top 10. Will they get Jackson some help? Schefter and Schrager with the latest information. Plus, check out what else is arriving soon, including was last night a bad game or a bad sign for Boston? We have so much more to get to on this Wednesday morning. We're coming right back. This is Get Up.